Hey, how's it going? Today I want to introduce to you the agent rearrange class, which is one of our best multi-agent orchestration mechanisms within Swarms. It's basically a very, very simple way of enabling agents to talk with each other by just putting arrow signs and comma signs to denote sequential and or parallel execution of agents. For example, this flow right here is basically agent 1 talks to agent 2, and then that talks to agent 3. And so agent 1 talks to 2 agents at a time because there's a comma sign. And so this denotes the next step of the process. Yeah, we have an example here, and we showcase some other interesting ways of processing. So you could do both parallel and sequential processing with this swarm mechanism. Now, to get started, this is what you do. You go pip install swarms. And so once you do that, now you're going to put in some envs. So you could do workspace directory. So the workspace directory within Swarms is how agents, where are they logging their files, essentially. So within this file, agents are going to log all their JSONs, all their configs within this file. So you just run that. I put agent underscore workspace, and then you also need your OpenAI API keys as well. Or you can use Anthropic or Claude or any provider you want. So yeah, and also check out the Swarms GitHub if you want to see other mechanisms of orchestrating agents. Yeah, please support, please star, please fork, and please contribute. We have a lot of issues that we need to solve, so we would love your assistance. And yeah, so back to business. I've created a quick example already with Claude. So Claude has generated an example script, and I'll quickly go over it and basically show you how it works. So we have our agents here, and these agents, step number 1 is build your agents. So here we have those agents. Yeah, so here we have our agents. These are the agents. We're basically going to be analyzing symptoms and trying to diagnose them through like any type of disease, really. So yeah, so let me just fix this, and yeah. So we have our agents here. We have, this is basically an agent. You have 4 parameters: name, prompt, model name. Here I'm using GPT-4, but you can use any LLM from Light LLM, which is really good. Then you also have a virologist, and yeah. So this is the basically how it works. You can, the agent rearrange, you give it a name. So you're saying medical NLP diagnosis, swarm, and then description. So you'd also say description, say symptoms, and natural language, symptoms to diagnosis report. And yeah, that's basically how it works. The agent class here, agent rearrange, has name, description, agents flow, agents parameter, then the flow, which is really important. Then you also have a max loops. So the max loops defines like how many loops is the entire swarm running. The agents and the swarm have their own loop. So you can loop over the agent once, and you can also loop in between the agent rearrange. So then we also have verbose. Then we have a memory system, which is basically RAG or any shared communication system. Here we have human in the loop. So you just turn that on, and then you could talk in between each agent. You have custom human in the loop. We have a return JSON parameter, We also have an output type. So the output type is basically like if you put all, basically you'll get a big document of all the responses from all the agents, or you put final, it'll just be the last agent. Then you could also put documents, docs, which are just files. So you could put like the file path of a document. You can also put an entire doc folder. You can even specify what device, CPU or GPU you want to run, and if you want to use all your, CPUs and GPUs and things like that. But yeah, so let's get started. So we have our let me just fix this code that Claude made. So again, we have our agents here. We have how many agents? We have four agents. This is the flow: chief medical officer, virologist, internist, diagnosis, and diagnostic synthesizer. So for the chief medical officer, another thing you could do is, if you make this an F string, you can actually just say chief medical officer dot name or dot agent name, and so you don't have to. It's just generally much easier. Which one was this one? Oh yeah, virologist. So you could also do it like that. I like doing it like this because it won't make a mistake, but if you do it otherwise, then it most likely will make a mistake. So you do it like that. Which one was the last? Oh, synthesizer. Yeah. So you do then dot agent name, and then so now the flow is medical officer, virologist, internist, synthesizer. And I'll switch up on the flow pretty soon so you can see like other mechanisms of doing it. But yeah, so here you have the timestamp and the task. So this is the patient case and some symptoms. Yeah, so it's also going to output the diagnosis within a file called medical analysis agent rearrange in a reports folder. So we can fix this code by using rough, which is much better now. Okay, and so now we could actually run this. And let's see what we got. So again, just to like summarize everything we talked about, the agent rearrange is a multi-agent orchestration mechanism that allows you to define a very specific flow of communication. You can define the specific type of agents that should be talking to each other in the precise fashion as you wish. And so it's very powerful if you know how to get like what agents should be talking with each other. And so the first medical officer agent says, the patient is a 45-year-old female presenting with a fever, dry cough, fatigue, and mild shortness of breath. Her medical history includes controlled hypertension. She has not traveled recently and has no known sick contacts. Additionally, she is fully vaccinated for COVID-19. Differential diagnosis. Influenza. Given the season and symptoms, influenza is a strong possibility. The patient's symptoms align with typical flu presentations, which include fever, cough, and fatigue. COVID-19. Despite being fully vaccinated, breakthrough infections can occur, especially with new variants. Symptoms such as fever, cough, and shortness of breath are consistent with COVID-19. Respiratory syncytial virus, RSV, can cause symptoms related to those of flu and COVID-19, including cough, shortness of breath, particularly in adults with underlying conditions. Viral pneumonia. This can be a complication of an initial viral infection, presenting with fever, cough, and shortness of breath. Specialist consultation needed. Infectious disease specialists to evaluate and prioritize testing for specific viral pathogens and to provide input on potential treatment plans. Recommended next steps. Diagnostic testing. Perform a rapid influenza test and a COVID-19 PCR test to rule out the common viral infections. and symptom treatment. Recommend antipyretics for fever management. Encourage rest and hydration to manage fatigue and overall symptoms. Monitoring and follow-up. Monitor respiratory symptoms closely given the shortness of breath. And that was the first agent. That was the chief medical officer. Now the virologist, okay? So characteristics, influenza, COVID-19, RSV. Disease progression timeline. Symptoms usually appear 1 to 4 days after exposure and can last for about a week, although cough and fatigue may last longer. Symptoms typically appear 2 to 14 days after exposure with a median of 5 days. The course can vary significantly from mild to severe. Risk factors for severe disease. Influenza and COVID-19. Severe disease, RSV, viral pneumonia, and gives you some recommendations and a follow. Internus. So vital signs and their implications: temperature, evaluate for fever, respiratory rate, heart rate, and blood pressure. Basically saying like what should you test for, a symptom by symptom, system by system review, cardiovascular, given the effects such as, especially in patients, respiratory, assess for signs of pneumonia or bronchitis. Consultation may reveal cracks or weasels. Consider chest imaging if indicated, and yeah. So you could read this if you like. But then the diagnosis synthesizer. Primary diagnosis: viral respiratory infection, influenza, or COVID-19. Alternative diagnosis to consider: bacteria, pneumonia. Consider if symptoms worsen or if there is a lack of improvement with antiviral treatment. Heart failure, especially if there are cardiovascular symptoms like edema or worsening dyspnea. And documentation requirements. Clear reasoning chain. The diagnosis is based on the synthesis of clinical symptoms, lab findings, and risk factors. Evidence quality assessment. Moderate quality relies on clinical presentation and initial lab results. Confidence levels for each diagnosis. Primary diagnosis is moderate to high. Alternative diagnosis are lower. Knowledge gaps identified. Awaiting confirmation test results for viral. And yeah. Now I made a report of the documents of everything that the agents did. So we can open that up. And this is the full document of what we just read. And so yeah, that's the agent rearrange. This is a kind of simple demo, not showcasing the full features. I have made demos before in the past with this in a video on multi-agent RAG. So within this demo and this video, I basically show you how to integrate multiple agents into kind of like a basically like into the agent rearrange. So basically, like if you see here, we essentially integrate llama index DB, which is a class that has a method called query. And so with this query method, now the class, like the agents can basically search all the documents in the vector database. So this is how it looks. You can integrate any vector database that you want. You just need to have a query method. And so this query method will basically show you, like, it will basically enable the agent to query the vector database and give that to the agents. And yeah, so that's typically what I recommend if you have to give your swarm like a bunch of documents. But also make sure you use something really good, because llama index is kind of short and doesn't give you like really extensive outputs. So I'll probably be making a template repository with ChromaDB, because Chroma is simpler and a little bit has like longer outputs. And so yeah, so that's an example of the agent rearrange. We're going to try one more demo. So now we're going to say now let's create a swarm of specialized agents for private equity startup VC document question and answering for terms of save documents and term sheets. So I'm going to make a new file here called term sheet swarm. And so Claude is going to build the agents. Claude's going to build the agents. And then we can start using it. So it's built 4 agents: lead analyst, specialist. Oh wow, it's built 5. Lead analyst, safe specialist, term sheet analyst, legal analyst, market analyst. And so now we have this code and we can copy that. And so, okay, we have a lead investment analyst, we have a safe specialist, we have a term sheet analyst, legal compliance, market comparison. And yeah, so it did it pretty good. Claude built the list, built the flow, he even did this correctly. And yeah, actually we could do something much better. We can in the output document we could say something like name plus and then we could just do that again here. So the report will be nice and beautiful. We could even do this. Just put a comma sign there, and that'll be markdown. So if we do that here too, we can do something like this. There you go. Okay, so the input text is sales agreement, valuation cap 10 million, discount rate 20%, investment amount 500,000, conversion provisions, automatic conversion upon equity financing of at least $1 million, optional conversion upon liquidity event, most favored nations provision included, pro rata rights included for future rounds. So now if we run this, it should work, and we should have a new report created by our agents here. So honestly, agent rearrange is one of my favorites mechanisms. It's kind of like its own language. It's like a multi-agent language. Okay, what did I do? Okay, shit. Well, that's not gonna work out. Okay. Well, now we can see if this works out. So, yeah, agent rearrange is one of my favorite mechanisms. It's super simple. What is this? Okay, well, I'm just gonna do this for now. You know what? I'll just do this for simplicity. I was trying to make the document nice, but that didn't work out. So now we're going to see all the agents running. What's the issue? Did I run this? All right. Just making sure there's not an issue here. there's a problem. What's the problem? What we got going on? Okay. Well, that is very, very strange. That's what it is. The agent range gonna have duplicate names at the moment, so I'll go and change that soon. But I don't know why it wasn't giving me any errors. That's why it's add, try, and accept. Yeah, you should probably always be using try and accept blocks, so you can, find those errors quickly. Okay, so now it's running. Agent name, lead investment analyst. The document under review is a safe, simple agreement for future equity agreement, which provides the investor with the rights to convert their investment into equity under specified conditions. The key financial terms include a valuation cap of $10 million and a discount rate of 20%. The investment amount is $500,000 with provisions for automatic and optional conversion, as well as pro rata rights for future investment rounds. Valuation cap, 10 mil. Risk factors, valuation cap risk. If the company's value exceeds 10 million during conversion, the investor benefits from a lower conversion price. But if the valuation is below the cap, it may provide a significant advantage. Conversion timing. The automatic conversion depends on a future equity financing event, which introduces timing and market risk. Most favored nation. The inclusion of a most favored nation can complicate future financing negotiations and may deter other investors. Recommended actions. Review market comparables, legal review of MFN, and the safe specialist. Okay, now we get the safe specialist. So it triggers upon an equity financing round of at least 1 million. The investment converts into equity automatically based on the valuation cap or discount rate, whichever is more favorable. Upon a liquidity event such as an acquisition, optional conversion, pro rata rights, conversion, investor implications is protecting investor interests. Understand the difference between post-money and pre-money safes. And then we got the term sheet analyst. Allow investors to maintain their ownership percentage in future rounds, market standard comparison, common for early stage investors, and et cetera, et cetera. Legal compliance. You got to stay compliant with Securities Act of 1933, Securities Exchange Act of 1934. Check for accuracy and legal definitions used within the term sheet, risk assessment, and then we have the market comparison analysis. And do we have a report for this? Okay, I think we do have a report. Yep. And yeah, that's a pretty good swarm right there. And so yeah, we still have a lot of other features that we haven't really gone into. Like if you go to the agent range, the output types are as follows: all final list, dictionary, JSON, MD, TXT, YAML, TOML, and as I mentioned before, you can add a shared memory system to everything in here.